You're listening to Back in the Day, Nostalgic 90s.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the show you've been waiting for. Back in the day. Here we are, Dean.
That's right, here we are again, remembering the days of frosted tips and butterfly clips. Did you used to have butterfly clips in your hair, Stitch?
I don't think it's ever been that long.
No.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
And
Um,
originally it was curly, so maybe I didn't need them as much as you did.
you were curly.
Yeah,
From what I remember, if you didn't have at least 12 butterfly clips on your hair, you weren't even trying.
well, that's it, isn't it? That's the fashion. That's the retro. Here we
Hmm.
are then. We are hosting Dean with his quilt over his head, as per usual. Stitch with his new microphone. How we hearing, listeners? Is it loud and clear?
You sound loud and clear to me, Stitch.
Lovely.
Crisp, perfect bass,
Super.
everything.
I'm in a cupboard today. We've got visitors, but we are still cracking on with the live pre-recorded show.
And I'm in my kitchen with the duvet over my head because I can't use my normal studio because it doubles as a bedroom. And
Right,
at some point, my wife is going to want to go to bed.
right. There you go, audience. The difficulties of the podcaster. You'd never think of it, do you? You all think we're in our smug little homemade studio, but no, blankets under stairs and in cupboards.
Little do they know. Anyway, Stitch, what's been going on
Well,
in
going
your
on, I thought rugby was quite pertinent, don't you? Did you watch the rugger? The
rugby?
old Six Nations? High hopes were dashed if you were Angleterre fan.
Yeah, the Six Nations. It was definitely the game changé because, oh yeah, England were absolutely rubbish, nowhere. And it was who won it in the end anyway?
France won it in the end, but it was down to the
France.
could have been
Yeah,
Ireland or Scotland. Yeah.
went down to the final week, didn't it? The final
Well,
game week.
final game week, final kick of the ball as well, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
The
Amazing. I
now
didn't follow it avidly, but I managed to get a few games.
right. No, I used to be an avid fan, but now they're losing again. I might start losing hope, the same as I have with Liverpool. Used to be a fan and slowly losing interest. Well, that's enough about us, though. We are doing what's coming up on the show. Today's show is all about in-car stereos. So look out for that. In-car stereos, the first hi-fi in your motor. But let's do a little bit more about ourselves first. We used to say what we look like, and he's the smart one and I'm the goofy one. But let's give a bit more info about our work experience. But let me introduce myself. This is Stitch, and I am a English teacher. I hope you can tell by my voice. What do you do, Dean?
Me, I'm a painter and decorator in the southwest of England. You can tell that by my chill vibe, and I've been
Yeah.
doing that for 16 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so something creative,
Back
which
in the
feeds into what we do now, doesn't it? Really?
creative, yeah, creative. Well, both creative vibes, isn't it? Teacher in the classroom waving his wand, sprinkling stardust of education, and there's you with your brush, swiping the walls in fragrant colours.
Yes, that's
Similar.
right. Yeah. So I suppose I come from a creative family, really. My mother's side, they were all either artsy or musical, or
Mm,
one way or the other. So yeah, maybe it's been inherited through that genetic line.
mm. Back in the day, we did hold the same employment. We were both window swipers. More on that in another sketch. So that
We
was
were.
the originals. The originals. We were both in the same trade, squeegees and buckets.
God, what a time it was too. I had other jobs as well. You didn't have that many jobs, did
No,
you? I remember,
no.
yeah, you worked for a brief spell in computers.
Yeah, yeah.
Your
Just
first job?
yeah, just for car. That was just for the car, really. We had a company car, so that was what I was striving for. Nissan something it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Oh, Primera. The old Nissan Primera.
Yes.
Wow.
Right.
Another one from the archives.
Another one coming
But
up.
I had other jobs as well. So I was a builder's merchant
Oh yeah.
employee, timber merchant employee, but all boring stuff. So I was glad to get out of that and work for myself
Mm,
and to do what we do now.
superb.
So
One
what's
day,
coming up, Stitch?
one day this will be our only employment. So sponsors, feel free to get in contact on any of our platforms.
Yeah, and
Um,
carry us through our declining years.
yeah, this is this is a retirement plea. Anyway, where were we? Car stereos. Last week we were talking about the what were we talking about? Wasn't last week, 2 weeks. This show is semi-weekly, bi-monthly. How do you say it, Dean?
I'd say fortnightly.
Okay.
That's probably
Yeah.
what we're aiming
Okay.
for.
That's what we're aiming for.
So last time was road shows.
Leading nicely in because road shows, you were on the way to the road show, you listened to the radio, and you got to the road show and you're bored with it. So you got back in your car and listened to your radio. But eventually they upgraded and we had tape machines. Do you remember? Did you ever have a tape machine in your car?
I did have a tape machine actually. Yeah, I had the original radio, which had enormous dials and knobs on it. You know, a little
Hmm.
bit like a Soviet era nuclear submarine, that sort of thing. And but I didn't have a tape player with it, so eventually I bought my own tape player, sort of bolted it in. But tape players were quite high stakes, weren't they, back in the
Hmm.
day? Because they were hungry beasts when they wanted to be.
Really?
They
Oh,
could
they're
take your yeah
chewing.
at any time. Yeah, at any time they could take your cassette tape hostage and just chew it up. And
Yes.
when you eventually get the tape out, it's just a pile of shiny brown noodles,
Yes.
which
Mangled
you
and
never quite knew, did you? Yeah,
yeah, your prize tape mangled and spat back out.
yeah. I suppose if someone wasn't there, like so young people, for example,
Right.
if they just imagine their iPad and it's about 3 kilograms with the processing power of a toaster and it hates you, that's the equivalent that's probably the modern equivalent of what we were up against with our cassette players in the car.
Yeah. Bit of a lottery, wasn't it? Is this coming back? Will I have to re-twist the what is that stuff called? Tape. It's actually tape, isn't
Yeah.
it? How
Yes.
additive, yeah.
Yeah, brown tape.
Round tape. Or will I have to go and buy a new one? How much were they anyway? £1.50?
Well, I think the blank ones were maybe, yeah, one
Wow.
pound fifty. Yeah, like
Blank.
The Maxell C90s
Wow.
with the gold. I think it had gold
Yes.
livery on the package. Yeah,
No.
but to buy one, buy one pre-recorded, I can't remember what they cost. Maybe 5 or 6 quid.
No. That doesn't sound
Yeah,
like
they were.
back in the day price to me at all.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And CDs were
Yes. Well, that's
more
what
than that.
can you remember? I just my biggest recollection, I can't really remember your tape player. I can remember Marky's and he had his somehow attached to the dashboard because dashboards used to sort of float, didn't they? They were sort of, I don't know how they were attached. And then he had his attached somehow to the dashboard. And then his speakers were floating under his chair. And every time he went round the corner, he had to rearrange the speaker because it come to where the pedals were.
Yeah, Lower Market, I think it was a decent set of speakers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because he didn't do anything on the budget, did he? He'd
Mm.
save up and he'd buy something decent.
Mm.
Yeah. But I had my cassette player. I had it bolted underneath. It was underneath a steering wheel, so that my mates couldn't reach across. Well, the idea was that my mates couldn't reach across and play around with it, but
Ah.
they did anyway. They still did. So
Oh,
it's basically between my knees under the steering wheel.
right.
And I just had it bolted to the dashboard.
Yes. I
Wouldn't
think
be your ideal setup.
that was the magic, wasn't it? The trying to get upgrades, trying to how make your system sound better. So the tapes coming in, and then the CDs, CD players. Who would have thought of that? You could bring your CD from your house into your car.
Yeah. Well, that first started in the 80s, didn't it?
Right.
Um, I think in-car CDs were invented for the 80s, but they were so expensive, they cost as much as your car. So it wasn't really in there. It wasn't really until the 90s that they took off.
Ah,
Mm. So you had the problem with, but you still had the problem with them skipping. It was a constant struggle, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So and the other thing was you had to bring them with you. So CDs are not uncumbersome, are they? So you have to s- select which ones you wanted, bring them with you in a box or its own little folder. I used to have a little folder with sleeves. I used to put them in, and then you could sort of
Mm.
select the one you wanted.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you brought them in, well, I knew some people who just had them loose, and
Mm.
they were just everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, in the footwell,
on the
in the
seat.
center console,
Yeah.
just seats absolutely everywhere, on top of the dashboard. Yeah, so they'd be, yeah, they'd be falling on your lap
Ah,
when the car accelerated. So yeah, not ideal. You had to be pretty tidy with it. But a lot of people had the CD changer, didn't they?
right.
After a while, yeah,
CD changer. No, I never did that.
yeah.
Did I don't I
So
can't see you actually having a CD player. Did you ever do a CD?
I didn't know, not back in the 90s.
No.
No. But quite a few did. Like
Yeah.
people we went around with, all of the
Yeah.
like the guys from Swindon.
Right. Oh
Is it
yeah.
in Swindon? Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone had a BMW in
Yeah.
Swindon, even
Yeah.
back in the 90s. And
Yeah.
they had CD changers, and they were either in the boot or they were bolted under the passenger seat,
Yeah.
and they would load 6 to 12 CDs, and then trouble with that, they'd end up listening to the same music for about 6 months because they were too lazy to swap out their CDs.
Yes. Driving your
So,
BMW with a CD changer in the boot. We used to
yes.
go, and I don't know, you might not be able to help me with this one. We used to go to a shop in Trowbridge opposite the Shires, and me and Mark, that used to be like our mecca. We used to go there and like leer at all the new apparatus you could buy. So that's where all our Pioneer and Alpine and Sony face lift off hi-fi units came from. But before we actually bought them, we used to go and sort of window shop and poke around. That was our place to be.
Yeah. I don't remember what the place in Trowbridge was called. I
No.
vaguely remember the shop.
Yeah.
There was one in Bath as well, wasn't
Oh,
there?
right. Yes.
Bath Eastern.
Yeah.
And I cannot find anything, any record of what it was called.
No. That's why we need the third member really, because that was his forte and was music and sound. So he was the one who sort of led me there. I think I had a Pioneer, or did I? I think no, I think I had an Alpine, and some of the buttons. This was the face come off era. So you used to have unit which was in and was always in, and then you got the unit which you could take the whole thing out and put it in the boot just in case the thief didn't want to come in the front door, he could go in the back door, or you could take. And then the next upgrade was the faceplate, yeah, where you flick it off with a touch of your finger and you can take the fascia off and put that in its own little sachet.
Yeah, and sometimes they came in a hard protective case, didn't they?
Mm.
And if you had one of them on you, it was so cool when you whipped it out. It was like whipping out a lightsaber, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
For,
Great
for the
chat up
combat.
line.
Yeah, that's right. But it was better than the whole unit, taking the whole unit out, I think, because if you were carrying a whole stereo unit around with you, it just looked like you'd stolen it. No one could really tell whether you'd stolen it or not,
Mm.
unless they knew you.
Yeah,
Um,
is that your? Yeah,
mm. Except once in Cardiff, I did see a bloke. Um, well, actually, I saw a car with the window smashed, and then a few moments later, I saw a bloke with a whole stereo unit in one hand and an iron bar in the other.
right. I hope you
So that
chased
was a
it
bit of a
down.
give. Yeah, I did not, but that was a bit of a giveaway. But normally, you couldn't tell if it was stolen or not just by someone carrying it around.
Yeah, maybe the
But
crowbar.
so
Mm.
yeah, so that's why the flick off faceplate was so cool and useful.
Mm. The only disadvantage, because I was an avid user of the flick off plate with my Alpine stereo, um, you had to, it was a bit of a swagger, wasn't it? Showing your class that you had a flip off plate hi-fi unit in your pocket. But
It was.
the only other problem was you had your, which this will be another show, you had your brick phone in the other pocket and you were going bowling. So it was quite hard work.
Yeah. The brick phones, although they're not cool now, they're considered laughably uncool now. At the
Mm.
time, they were quite cool, but not as cool as the flick off faceplate.
Yeah.
I forgot you had an Alpine though.
You did, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty,
Yeah,
yeah.
because Alpine was the cream de la cream,
Mm.
really. If you, I think the Alpine it was 7,000 range, I think
Right.
790 something. That was considered the best CD player ever made. So if you had one of them, you weren't just a car guy, you were a gentleman of the highways,
Well,
a lady of the roads.
yes, certain Stanley. That is why in my read up, I've mentioned mostly the hi-fi unit was more expensive than the car because I remember only paying 200-300 for me motors. That's another show coming up next week. Um, uh, yeah, so more expensive and valuable than the car that it was incarcerated in for free.
Mm, yeah, too right. Yeah. What other makes were there that were big at the time?
Sony was good. Pioneer was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the Sony. I think some of they were the ones that had the copper plated chassis, I
Right.
think, and they had rosewood
Wow.
fascia. Pioneer, though, that was a real powerhouse,
Yeah.
really. Though, if you couldn't afford an Alpine, then Pioneer was the one to go
Next
for
one
because
down.
it
Yeah.
had, yeah, it had fiber optic tech. It was like NASA grade technology.
I tell you what we need. We need a platform where listeners can send in their photographs and we can add ours. Because if I've got proof that I did have an Alpine, I can stick it up on our Instagram and get more brownie marks, gold
Yeah.
stars.
Just imagine if we had an Instagram page dedicated to the show.
Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Wouldn't it be? Well, guess what, listeners? We have. We we that's a seamless segue, isn't it,
Great,
Stitch?
great
Yeah,
lead.
we do have an Instagram page. It is back in the day, nostalgic 90s. as in the word 90s, not 90s. So back in the day, nostalgic 90s, and you will be able to direct message us with your pictures in due course, which we will be able to upload.
There we go. Breaking news. That's the way we go forward. And a quick break in the show to give a shout out to our uh, helpers. What do we call them? Not helpers.
Contributors?
Contributors.
Mm.
Voiceover, Jin, Hui Hui on the music, and backed by Ben, we have now an editor who edited our show, which will be out on the 1st of this very month. Feel the difference, ladies and gentlemen. It is crystal clear.
Yes, do that because we're definitely feeling it.
Any more messages to relay to the millions there, Dean?
To relate to the millions, we have something on Spotify
Ooh,
because that's what we want. We want listeners to comment in the comment section.
we do.
Don't send us WhatsApps.
Thank you.
In the comment section on Spotify, we've got Denise, and she says, loving this. Well, it's short and sweet, but I like it anyway. Do
Thank you,
you
Denise.
want more? Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you,
go on. What have we
Denise.
got?
What have we got? We've got someone called Crido.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says, what an intro to you two. Was sat on the edge of my seat, looking forward to some more thought-provoking stuff. And we have someone called Morehouse. It says, brilliant, love it. Oh, thank you, Morehouse.
Fantastic. There we
Do you want
go.
more Stitch?
Haven't we got a Gary in there somewhere?
There is oh yeah, we have Gary H. And oh yeah, I will find that.
As long as it's
Another
not too long.
captivating,
Yeah, go on.
yeah, and get in the Spotify comment section. Another captivating moment of podcast history, chaps. Used to be a Steve Wright in the afternoon avid listener. Remembering his show had me in stitches, especially when Mr. Angry came on. Old Woman, Mr. Spoon, and Ask Elvis. Laughed so much I almost crashed my truck. Keep up the good work, Gary. Well, thank you, Gary. And we have just a couple more. Have we got time for this, Stitch?
Yeah, go on then.
Always got time for our listeners.
Listeners.
Andrew, nice show, lads. Brought back a few memories. Mark and Lard were legends. They did a tribute band, didn't they? The Shire Horses. Classic. Do you remember the Shire Horses, Stitch?
Yes, North Country
Mark
Boy.
and
Yeah, that was appropriate listening, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Shire Horses. I think the running joke with the Shire Horses were that they were the most plagiarized band, and that all of the 90s Britpop bands
Oh,
were ripping off their songs.
yeah.
Yeah. So you had, say, You're Gorgeous by Baby Bird. The Shire Horses claimed was a rip off of their song, You're Gormless.
Yes, now I remember bringing back the memories.
Yeah. So that's right. And they did another one as well. Yes, Country House. They
Uh,
claimed was a rip-off of Country Spouse,
right.
and Nancy Boy by Placebo was a rip-off of Lardy Boy, the Shire's title.
There you go, listeners. Get into the archives and
Great,
listen back to some of the Shire Horses classic tunes.
great stuff. We do have one more off Spotify in the comment
Go
sections.
on.
M Welsh 5 says, enjoyed the podcast. Looking forward to listening to more.
Fantastic.
Thank you, M Welsh.
Fantastic. We also have WhatsApp, Mr. Mark. That's the trilogy, the third person. Great show. Thanks, Mark. And Danny. Danny says he liked it. They're all short and sweet, but we appreciate the support. But as young Dean did mention, from forthwith, we are banning WhatsApp messages. We are centering on our platforms of Apple, Spotify. Please comment there. Then it is collective in one area, and we can easily find it and use your name on air. We don't want to miss out anyone's contribution.
That's right. And in addition to that, we have a new email address because the old one was a bit of a mouthful. And so, for any stories and memories that you want to send into the show, the new email address is stitchanddean@gmail.com. And that will appear in the show notes.
Fantastic. Right, on with the show. I tell you what else was amazing. And this, I tried to get Ross on the show, but he was unconnectable. It was the speakers in the back shelf, woofers, bass tubes to go with the CD changers. Again, I can't remember you actually subscribing to that. Did you actually have a back shelf in any of your cars, or were they
Mm,
all vans? I can't remember yours.
yeah, I had a back shelf.
Right,
Mini well, I had back shelves in all but one of them, yeah,
right,
but never I never took the plunge in terms of filling my back shelf with subwoofers. But it
right.
was definitely yeah, the 90s was the era of the subwoofer.
Mm,
But if you were going to do it, you had to do it properly, really, or not at all.
yeah. No,
Yeah, you have people who they would gladly give up 100% of their boot space. Personal space didn't matter
yeah,
at the time, did it? Except I did have a friend who didn't actually do it properly. He had an old Datsun 120Y, so I think that was an 80s car, but he had it in the 90s. And he got two big speakers from home, just two like big hi-fi speakers,
right.
and put them in the boot of his car instead of getting proper subwoofers, and filled the whole boot. And it was so loud. It was like a seismic event. It was
Yeah,
it was so loud. Boy, was it loud,
mental.
but not in a very pleasurable way.
Mm.
And in the end, it all went horribly wrong. There was an explosion, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think the wattage is compatible, is it?
No, no, you
No.
really should not put your hi-fi speakers,
Yeah,
especially if they belong to your dad, in,
yeah,
in the boot of your car and wire them up.
yeah. There you go, listeners. That's a hazard warning. Father's speakers in the boot is a no-no. But anyway, new cars don't need them. My biggest recollection was Ross, who used to have like a Cinto, Uno. What's the smallest Fiat they
Oh,
used to have?
yeah,
Smallest
not the
one,
Panda,
not a Panda.
or 125.
Yeah, I don't know. He had. I remember he had iron bar gates on the front and the back. Sort of anti-rammed. And then in the
Yeah.
boot, where there was no boot, was rammed with speakers and subwoofers and bass tubes, and the car basically beat its way down the road. Yeah, didn't need its wheels. Amazing. It's such a small space. It was claustrophobic at the best of times.
It's amazing how the thing stayed together, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mine, do you remember my Kenwoods? Kenwood. That was another nice one. That's a nice mate.
Yeah.
My 6.9, well, it's 6x9s, aren't they? That's how big the speakers are. And I put them on my back shelf. The problem is with me, and I shudder at the memory, everywhere I went, even if I was doing the windows or other secular work, you could hear me coming a mile off, which is quite embarrassing. Um, but I think I only had them a couple of days, and I parked it outside, ate the butts, and they were swiped the day after. I think they didn't even smash anything. I think they just opened the tailgate and took the whole shelf. So I was shelfless and wooferless in one fell swoop.
Oh, that's how to do it. Take
Isn't
the
it?
whole shelf out without breaking anything.
Yeah. That was before
Oh,
CCTV, so you couldn't track the criminal either.
yeah. Not very polite thieves.
Yeah. Well, boys, it's time for my cappuccino and shortbread, but we have a few things to mention to you before we leave the airwaves.
That's right. I need to go and do my hair in the style of Crash Bandicoot. But we do need to talk about what we're going to do. we do have to talk about what we're going to do in the coming weeks, don't we,
That's
Stitch?
right. That's right.
Mm.
Next 2 weeks fortnightly show is my first car. So if you've enjoyed this show, please subscribe, tell all your mates, put it up on Instagram, write a sign, write it on your chest and run around the streets and contribute your car, your first car.
That's right. So, are we going to be talking about our first cars as well, Stitch?
We should do that. Would start the ball rolling.
Mm, that's
Oh,
right.
nearly forgot. It's at the bottom of my list. Welcome new listeners. We are getting more and more followers as we speak. Welcome to Taiwan and Hong Kong. Also have a listener batch.
Come on, Taiwan and Hong Kong.
It
See
is.
if you can see if you can catch up with Bulgaria and the United
Yes.
States.
Competition is on.
Yes.
Further shows, looking further to the future, will be about your school days. We've all been there, hopefully. Uh, get your stories, how you walked there, what trainers you walk, what what gang you were in, which teachers were good, etc., etc. What haversack did you wear? Did you bring to school? We need all the info. That's in forthcoming 7 to 9 shows.
Mm, beautiful stuff. So now, Stitch, is it really time for us to go?
It certainly is. Yeah, wrap it up for us, young Dino.
Yes, because really I need to go back to the 90s and see if I can save the era. So tune in next time to see if I was successful.
Bye bye for now.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please download, comment, and tell a friend.